welcome each one of you. We're going to have this conversation about why ages 0 to 5 matter more than you think. Yes, Raj, please go ahead.
Yeah, so let's start with a small poll. So we're going to ask a question, and I think all of you will start seeing that poll on your screen also. Request everybody to participate in the poll, please. Sure, we're getting a lot of responses. I think, yeah. Oh, okay. So I'm going to end the poll and share the result. So, Purvesh, we have an audience today which is pretty well informed, honestly. So, makes our life very easy. So, I think 77% people have given us the right answer, which is 90% brain development happens by the age of 5. So, yeah, I mean,
And
pretty
even the
normal.
remaining 20% at least think 70%. So I think most people are very, very close to the scientific facts here. Yes, everybody. So 90% brain development of a human being happens by the age 5. So let's briefly look at what do we really mean by that. When you say brain development 90%, what do we really mean by that? Is it a physical or how is it measured? So some few basic scientific facts in layman terms. When a human child is born, almost all human child who are born healthy, they are born with about 86 billion neurons in their brain at birth. And neurons are simply brain cells which carry and share information. You can imagine them like small messengers who talk to each other to execute various brain functions. So, human child is born with 86 billion neurons in their brain at birth, which is the maximum number of neurons by the weight of the body in any animal or any species on the planet. So take a moment and really get present to the special miracle a human being is. Yeah, Raj, go ahead.
So, Purvesh, I mean, you're saying that almost every child, every normal child will have those many neurons at birth. It is
Yeah.
not dependent on genes or race or a caste or anything.
No, absolutely, Raj. Absolutely. So, human child born healthy anywhere on the planet will have roughly these many number of neurons, unless the child is brain injured or delivered prematurely or for any other reason. If the child is healthy, these many neurons are there in the brain.
And in a very simple layman term, what exactly is a neuron? I mean, higher the neuron, I mean, more neuron is a good thing, or maybe what is a neuron first?
Yeah. Raj, neurons are simple cells in human brain. Like we have different kind of cells, right? Bones are different cells, muscles, tendons. So there are special cells in human brain which are you can use to carry and share information. Or you can say small kind of messengers who talk to each other, and that's how all brain activities is executed. Yeah. So when we say brain development happens by 90% brain development happens by the age 5, we do not mean that neurons are being developed continuously. Rather, the number of neurons in human brain remain almost the same throughout the life of a human being, unless in later stage of life you get some disease like Alzheimer or some other brain injury or brain disease by which the brain neurons number of neurons start to decay. Otherwise, in a healthy human being, from birth till the time they remain healthy, number of neurons remain same. So 90% brain development does not mean development of neurons.
Purush, we have one question from audience. Somebody has raised hand. Deepika, do you want to take that question right now?
Let me just
Sir,
clear this
I
slide and then
have a
come back
doubt.
to that. Yeah, what I'm saying, Raj, is that 90% development doesn't mean development of neurons. Neurons are already there at birth. The development is measured in terms of connections between these neurons, which are in technical terms called synapses. So the more the number of connections, the more is brain developed and can function.
Understood. And you're saying we're looking at about 1 million neural connection per second.
Per second, yes. When the human child is born, the rate at which neuronal connections called synapses are being formed is almost exponential, 1 million connections per second. That's the rate at which the brain is developing connections between these neurons. And any learning for a human being is in terms of neuronal network patterns, simply called brain patterns. So brain is making patterns continuously from birth about at the rate of 1 million connections per second. And by the age 3, these connections peak at about 1000 trillion. See, most of us can't even fathom this number. 1 trillion is 1000 billion. So you can say 1 million billion connections in human brain by the age 3.
I think there's a term for thousand trillion, zillion. So I think
Zillion.
1 zillion.
So
Yeah.
1 zillion synapses, or you can say neuronal connections in a human brain. And that's the miracle of nature called human being.
Right. And these uh, thousand trillion connections happens with every human, or is it dependent on certain things?
Yeah, no, Raj. These unfortunately 1000 trillion synapses don't happen with every human being. Rather, it really depends a lot in terms of what kind of exposure, especially human interaction, which we'll talk about today, happens with a human being in the first 3 years of life. In some community, it is observed where the human child is not exposed to much stimulation, these connections are not even formed.
Right. So just to make sure that I understand it correctly, you're saying is every human at birth has 86 billion neurons, uh, and but these neurons are just an opportunity in a way. I mean, these are cells that are there, but what really matters is the connection between these cells.
Absolutely correct.
And when, as a human being, we talk about intelligence, I mean, we loosely say, this person is more intelligent, this person is less intelligence. What we essentially mean by that is how many neural connections they have. Is
Absolutely,
that
how many neuronal connections there are and the strength of each connection. See, whatever activity we repeat, those connections become thicker and thicker. So, some activity, for example, let's say you learned walking. Walking is nothing but brain patterns in human brain, and the more and more you walk, those patterns get thicker and thicker. So, whichever activity you repeat, those synapses get thicker and thicker, stronger and stronger, and whichever activities you don't do, they get weaker and weaker, and eventually they disappear.
understood? But connections is essentially what, very roughly people say express as intelligence.
Yes.
And intelligence could be of any type. I mean, could
And
be.
yeah, intelligence, exactly. So, Raj, in some 1980s, one Harvard professor, Howard Gardner, distinguished that, typically till then the intelligence was only considered as IQ, analytical intelligence. And he demonstrated that actually a human being, unlike all other mammals, have multiple intelligences. For example, musical intelligence is very different than analytical intelligence. For the kinesthetic intelligence, which is expressed in terms of dance, is very different than analytical intelligence. Emotional intelligence is very different than IQ. So there are roughly 8 to 10 multiple intelligences in a human being, and all those are in different parts of the brain, and all that depends on how many connections are formed in that part of the brain and how strong those connections are.
Sure. So, Purush, let's take a pause. I think there are a couple of people who are asking question at this
Sure,
point in
sure.
time.
Yes, Deepika, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, our daughter is like 4.5 years old. Due to some situations, we were like keep on traveling and we were not able to give that much whatever classes or thing. So, how can I occupy her in the balance 5 to 6 months? Because
Sure.
you say till 5 years only, we have to work on it, right?
Sure, Deepika. So that is one part, Deepika, that we're gonna cover later in the presentation in more depth. So if your question is not answered by let's say next 15 minutes, then you can possibly raise your hand and we can then take that up. Sure.
Yeah, for sure, we'll take that up. Yes, yes, Raj.
So we have another poll here. When does the brain have the most connections? You started getting results.
Raj, these are chat GPT days. Everybody has the right answer, more or less.
Yeah, I think in today's era, I think parents are very well informed,
Very
but
well.
at times I think, I mean, even when my kids were growing up, I think I heard this line that 90% brain development happens by the age of five. Never really understood it that well. It always seemed to me more like a marketing gimmick than anything else. I think the science behind it, I only started sort of appreciating after footprints and after
Yeah.
largely interacting with you.
Thank you, Raj. And for everybody, for context, Raj became a father in 2003, and I became a father in 2005, and that is when I spent a lot of time. In those days, Google was the only option. We didn't have Chat GPT or any artificial intelligence or any other sources. And I actually even personally went to US and did some courses there to really get deeper into the research here. But yes, most of you are correct. The most connections in human brain peak at the age 3. And then Raj, the next follow-up question could really be that, if the peak is age 3, then why do we say the brain development happens by age 5, 90%?
Sure. I think we're going to talk about that in our
Sure.
next slide.
Yes, so 70% people think by age 3, 24% people think at birth, and then some 8% people think after 3. So everybody correct answer is age 3. So the synapses or neuronal connections in human brain peak at the age 3. And now let's dive deeper into what do we mean by that. Uh, See, what Raj has shared is a very famous, slide from very famous human brain development study by Harvard University. This was a groundbreaking research published at that time, almost 2, 3 decades ago. And if you see, they mapped development of human brain on 3 dimensions. One is sensory pathways, which is vision, hearing, also we call fine motor skills, sense of taste, touch. And one thing to notice is that human brain development begins in the third trimester when the baby is still in the womb of mother, because human brain physical formation is complete when the third trimester begins. So at -3 months, brain development begins. And that is why if you see, sometimes pediatricians and doctors recommend that when the expecting mother in the third trimester listen to good music, engage in good conversations, because that is the time sound, the baby can perceive sound and absorb sound. When at birth, if you see, it really takes off. Sensory pathways are almost vertical line from birth. So the fastest development that happens is the sensory pathways. So when a human child is born, they cannot see as clearly as you and I can see as adults. They can broadly differentiate between light and dark, but mostly they can't differentiate in colors. And even in terms of sounds, they can broadly distinguish various sounds, but not as clearly as we talk, as human beings talk. But those sensory pathways, vision pathways, even fine motor skills, they develop at an exponential rate from the birth to 1 year, as you can see the first orange graph. And then parallelly, what is happening, though at little lesser rate, is language development. And when we say language, we definitely mean English, Hindi, Bengali, Spanish, French, but it's also languaging, like anything that can be represented by symbols. For example, music is also a language. Mathematics is a language. So all the linguistic development is happening parallelly, though little lesser rate than the sensory pathways. And parallelly, what is also happening is higher cognitive function. See, higher cognitive function is recognizing shapes, recognizing colors, All three are happening parallelly, though at a different rates. And one thing to notice is if you see the rate of development tapers off at the age 5 to 6.
So on the y-axis, we have the rate of new neural connections. On the x-axis, we have age starting in months and then in years.
Yeah. So higher cognitive function, fundamentally what we call frontal cortex, which is called rational brain also, which as science claims only human beings have, which is rational thinking, which is abstract thinking, linguistic thinking, that continues to develop till about 14, 15. See, one thing, this development never stops in life. Even an 80, 100-year-old human being is also developing neural connections. But the rate at which it is happening comes exponentially down. That is why, if you observe, a young child can learn multiple languages within 2, 3 years. A child learns mother tongue is as foreign language as a foreign language you and I want to learn, but a child learns their mother tongue within a year. Or if in any household, if three languages are spoken, for example, my son learned Hindi, English, and Bengali almost fluently, just like mother tongue. But if an adult takes on learning a language, even in a decade, they cannot learn it as strongly as somebody learns their mother tongue.
Yeah.
That is
I mean, I
purely because of the effort it takes to make those many connections.
Yeah, I tried learning Spanish 10, 11 years back, had a real hard time doing that. So finally had to quit. So that probably answers it that, if I had tried that when I was a 2, 3 year old kid, probably would have been much easier to do that.
Yes, Raj, and I'm saying when I say language, not just like Spanish or French. If someone, let's say, tries to learn music at
Hmm.
the age of 50, that will they can of course learn, but that is exponentially higher effort than a 5 month old child. Or someone wants to learn mathematics. See, that goes for all languages.
Understood. So, in a way, could we then say that this is the golden period? If you miss this golden window, then you're racing, then you have to put in lot more effort to achieve the similar level of results.
Absolutely. Absolutely. First 5 to 6 years is the golden window. And especially, Raj, um, 3 to 6. As I said, from birth to age 3, most human children are automatically almost like, developing connection very fast rate. But like nature have one rule, use it or lose it. If those connections are not used, brain automatically disappears them, lets them go, which is called pruning.
Right. We're going to talk about that
Yeah, we're
too.
going to talk about that. But I'm saying, yeah, what you're saying is absolutely correct, Raj, that this golden window, which is there, initial 5 to 6 years of human life, are most crucial in terms of what kind of human being they will grow up to be. Like Bill Gates once said, first 5 years of life determine the next 80.
Which is very counterintuitive. As parents, we all tend to value, 10th, 12th, or higher education and start putting a lot of efforts during that period. What you're really saying is that the entire uh, determination happens largely by the age of 5. What
Exactly.
kind of abilities this child will end up having. And would that be a right assumption, Purvesh?
100% Raj. That is the exact opposite, especially in India, most time, attention, effort is given to last 5 years of education where the child will go the graduation from or masters from. And that makes the least difference. It does make a difference, but least. The maximum difference when it is being made is the first 5 years. And mostly at that time, it is ignored, saying child is small, let the child play, why send them to learn anything, as if learning is some burden or something. For a human child, learning is joy. If you look
Right.
at a child, the moment they learn a new trick or new word or new anything, because brain is registering that connection. So first 5 years are the actually the golden period, like you said, Raj, where the child must be exposed to the maximum learning.
Right. So I guess then the logical question would be, how do we as a parent ensure that this happens?
Yeah, very good. Actually, fortunately, what parents need to do are some very, very simple things. I'm not saying easy. First of all, give up some myths. So let's talk about some myths that we most human beings have about children. The first myth is we most adults relate to children as incomplete human beings who will get complete in next 18-20 years. The truth is a human being at birth is a complete human being in a smaller body. Like science also says, all the neurons that are there are already there at birth. So they are not incomplete human beings. They are fully complete human beings in a smaller body. So first, learn to respect them as that. Just like you will adult respect another adult who's a complete person, respect them as complete people, not incomplete people who will get complete. Second thing is, Raj, another myth is most people, most adults do not talk to children, especially infants, because we think a conversation is two ways and we want a verbal response like we would get a response from another adult. An
Right.
infant is absorbing words at an exponential rate, just like we said, 1 million connections per second. So an infant will not respond to a conversation like an adult, but does not mean they're not absorbing the conversation or not registering the conversation. So
Right.
one most important thing an adult can do with a child is have a conversation, talk to them.
So you're saying having conversation will help build these neural connections.
1000% yes. There's also a technical term for it called language nutrition. Most parents are aware about food nutrition. Similarly, language nutrition, how much language a child consumes per day is shown scientifically to be directly related to how intelligent, how like emotionally, analytically, or various kind of intelligences. They're directly proportional to the number of words they consume per day in their early childhood.
Sure. So conversation is clearly one of the ways that you can build connections. What else,
Yeah.
as a parent, I can do?
Play with them. Children love to play and engage. See, when a human being is playing anything, for example, you as an adult also, that is when the brain fully engages. So engage with the child in any kind of play. It could be coloring, it could be playing in the sand, it could be peekaboo, any kind of play. Playing like an animal, role play. So when you
Right.
play with them, their brain engages, their brain gets developed.
Okay.
Another way is, Raj, ki lot of things brain develops by some small gestures. For example, smile at a child.
Yeah.
That way the brain registers that I am safe, I am loved, I am nurtured. It goes a long way in developing child's sense of self. Hug a child, like really. And not just like once a day, like a routine or something, as much as possible, as many times as possible. Just hug a child. Most of us underestimate the power of a genuine, loving, caring hug. Even as an adult, you can check in your own experience when someone really hugs you with love. The experience that you have is one of the most loving and accepting and nurturing experience. So
Sure.
hug your
So,
child, kiss
sure.
your child.
So, Purvesh, I mean, very sort of fundamental question. I mean, uh, I have, let's say, a small child, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year old. I come back from is, what do I really talk? You're saying do conversation. What do I talk about? I mean, the child does not understand almost anything that I'm going to talk about. Lot of times, language hasn't been developed that much. So, what do I talk about? How do I spend time?
Brilliant, brilliant question, Raj. And another myth here is most adults think I can only talk about something when the child understands it. The science is exactly reverse. Child will begin to understand when you talk. So talk to the child just like you'll talk to your spouse or your best friend. Talk about your day, talk about your business, talk about your financial situation, talk about politics, talk about anything. They will not respond like an adult. But when you talk about politics, talk about anything, cricket, whatever you're, just like you'll talk to your best friend, they'll begin to grasp those words, those concepts, what it is for you. Just talk like a normal adult.
So you're saying there are three. When I come back from office, I should talk to a 3-year-old about the challenges that I'm facing in my office.
Yes, yes. And this is
Okay.
one big myth. With MRI scans, scientists have demonstrated that a child talked about not just politics and things we talk normally, even abstract calculus. And child's brain cells fire like anything to grasp those concepts that they don't know. Child's brain almost doesn't reject any learning. Adults resist learning, adults resist new concepts. A child's brain is like a sponge, it is absorbing every word, every concept, the emotions behind your words.
Right. What if, I mean, a lot of times, parents are tired coming back from office. What if I put some sort of a content on my tab, which,
Unfortunately, Raj, that is complete no. Harvard has demonstrated by study that human brain learns with human connection. So a gadget or TV or any such thing doesn't work. Human connection works. When a child brain experiences the presence of another human being, loving and nurturing human being, that is when the brain actually learns. Now, when you run a gadget, child will hear the sound for sure, but they will not make the connection which they will make when a human being interacts with them.
sure.
So the
So,
magical element is human connection, not just the sound and visuals.
right. I also, read some research some time back that the screen at the early stage could cause a lot of ADHD, but maybe that's a topic for some other day.
It absolutely does.
Sure, sure. And what about food? I mean, is food also something that is important and helps
I
form
think
some
that
sort of a
we could
connection?
have a complete webinar on that. Most adults underestimate the power of food that is fed to a young child. You know, Science has demonstrated that our health for all our life is more than 80% a function of the food we eat. And the food we eat almost gets fixed by the age 5. Whatever becomes your staple food by age 5, your brain registers that as your baseline. So no matter how hard you try dieting, your brain wants to come back to its baseline. So for example, if a child has eaten whatever, let's say, limited fruits or vegetables or grains, and the brain registers that as the baseline and everything as foreign. So no matter how much hard you try to eat healthy later years of life, 30, 40-year old, brain will keep fighting to come back to baseline.
Right.
Or if a child is fed a lot of sugar, processed sugar in early childhood, then those sugar craving will never go for the rest of your life.
But if adults are anyways today's advised not to eat chocolates or biscuits, etc. Now you're telling me even children can't have these biscuits and chocolates. That's their
Unfortunately,
age to enjoy that sort of
yes, I
chocolates
know,
and toffees, right?
I know. Science tells Raj that feeding a child processed sugar is giving them slow poison. I'm saying the other way around. Let adults enjoy chocolates. For children, at least till they are age 5, Do not, do not serve them processed sugar, chocolates, aerated drinks, cold drinks, biscuits, maida. All these are complete slow poisons for small children.
Right.
Processed bread.
Right.
Rather, a small child till age 5 must be fed all kind of seasonal fruits, fresh seasonal fruits, local, all kind of vegetables that are available in your geography, all grains, nuts, and no junk food. If you just manage that till age 5, your child is on track to be healthy for the rest of their life.
Right.
But anyway, I think we should have another webinar on the on topic of food, Raj. That is very, very critical.
Right. Sure. Yeah. Sure. So I think let's then talk about our. I mean, we have another poll here. What builds the strongest brain connection?
I think we already gave the answer.
Right. Yeah, we have a very informed audience, Purvesh, for sure.
I think next time we should stop taking these polls. Raj, we come from a dinosaur era.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have the poll results. I think you can see it on the screen, Purvesh.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely correct answer, everybody. Adult child interaction.
Right. And it doesn't cost any money. What it costs is a lot of time,
Yeah.
but doesn't really cost money.
Toys could be helpful in playing with the child, but toys are not the things that cause learning or connection. It is you who's playing using those toys with the child.
Right. Then I think the last slide for which we have is let's briefly touch about it.
Yes, sure. And everybody, nature gives almost every child ample opportunity to learn and develop. The neuronal connections being formed from birth, about 1 million connections per second. Of course, this rate keeps coming down every day. So, like for example, a child at day 0 is developing faster than child at day 1, and day 2 is slower than day 1, and day 3 is slower than day 2, like that. But all these connections peak at the age 3. And I'll tell you some astonishing facts. A 3-year-old child can distinguish between two parrots. Adults can't. If you look at two parrots, you cannot distinguish between two. If I show you one parrot one day, another parrot another day, you can't distinguish whether you saw the same parrot or different parrot, or two monkeys, or even two tree leaves, or two sounds. At age 3, the brain is sharpest the human being has. And then, whichever parts of the brain we do not use, those synapses or those connections between neuronal patterns begin to disappear, and only the ones we use repeatedly they become stronger, which we don't use become weaker and weaker and eventually disappear. And this is what I mean by age 5, that from 1 to 3 it peaks. Then try to keep as many patterns as we can by exposing the child to various learnings, music, mathematics, conversations, various languages, as much as you can, words, concepts. Of course, learning will be demonstrated or manifested in later years of life or adults, but the connections got formed early in the childhood. That's why if you see that so many musicians, they come from gharanas. Why is that? Because those children start learning musical notes when they were still in the womb of their mother. And in their early years, by the age 5, they've learned so much of music, which for other children is just not even possible.
And practically also, I mean, if the the older you are, difficult to solve or do something which you have not done at the age of 5, 6, 8, 10. I mean, if for example, if I have not studied calculus, if I tried learning that at the age of 30, it's gonna be extremely challenging.
Extremely challenging, absolutely. And if you see, Raj, even you look at all the mathematical problem solving is being done by people in their 20s. So I know the question is, what does it all mean, Raj? What does it
Yeah.
mean to parents?
Yeah, I think, I mean, if you could talk about some of the practical activities
Yeah.
that they can include in their schedule, I think that'll be very helpful. And then we can start taking few questions. I'll provide some summary and then we can start taking questions. Okay.
We can take off the slide if you want, Raj. Absolutely, Raj. So everybody, all this scientific mumbo jumbo, not necessarily you have to understand or remember any of that. That is not the field of a parent, and that is the job of brain scientists. And as educationists, it is our job to bring it to you in actionable terms, in layman terms. What it really means is few fundamental things. One, feed your child, and we'll talk about food maybe in another seminar, but just briefly, feed your child healthy food. All fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, and zero junk. Zero, absolutely. Second is have conversations with your child right from the day of birth. Don't worry about their response. Have conversations. The more you're talking to them, the more they're registering. And while you're having conversations with them, hug them, take them in your lap, keep them close to your chest, kiss them, cuddle them. The more you kiss them, cuddle them, hug them, nurture them, the more they develop. Play with
Right.
them. And one more thing is scientific terms called golden hour. The golden hour, Raj and everybody, is when you put your child to sleep, reading a bedtime story to your child, when you're just being with your child, undivided attention to your child in a loving and nurturing way, cuddling in the bed and reading the story to your child and in an animated way. Don't just read like a newspaper reader. When you talk about lion, be the lion, right? That 1 hour if you spend your child every day is the golden hour. Not only your child will develop very strong relationship, and not just with you. They will have a very great relationship with all human beings on the planet, because all relationship a human being has with anybody in their life for the rest of their life, fundamentally some version of relationship they have with you at birth or in the early childhood.
Right.
So when you develop strong bond with your child or your child develops strong bond with you, they are likely to have strong bonds with people in their life. So that is
Understood.
the golden hour that you can do.
So I think one of the person was asking, I think Deepika was asking, or somebody else was asking question around, if I have not been able to spend a lot of time, and my child is 4 year, 5 year old, what can I do now?
Yeah, thanks, Raj. And good question, Deepika. So first of all, Deepika, I'll say relax, take a deep breath. Nature doesn't depend only on you for the brain development of your child. So whether you've done something or not, 4.5 years, a lot of development has already happened. But yes, what you can do now is just like what I said, have conversations, play with your child, spend that golden hour putting them to sleep, reading bedtime stories. And 5 years is not like a hard stop, everybody. It's gradual tapering off.
Yeah.
So don't think if 5 years, like only 5 months are left, do as much as you can do. And learning never stops. Even at 80, you can learn music. So don't take this conversation like, oh, my chance is gone in life. No, no. You can learn anything. It will just take extra effort. That's all.
Right. I think a lot of this used to happen in India because largely we were in joint families, very large setup, and there
Yeah.
were a lot of small children, etc.
But
In
as I
today's era, that
said,
is not really possible.
today's webinar has opened doors for, I think, and that should be another webinar by itself. Science has demonstrated that the best environment for a human child to grow is a social setting. You must have heard in your preschool that human being is a social animal, and we never quite got the depth of it. So, human being's child is best. nurtured and developed in a social setting where they are interacted with and interacted by multiple adults, multiple peers who are younger or older than in age, and in various studies, it is found that large joint families are the best environment. And such kind of joint families were found in Italy, Greek, and mostly India. Unfortunately, now this format of joint families is reducing. But yes, in large joint families, when child is being interacted by multiple adults, multiple other children of the family, is kind of very, very nurturing environment.
And that is why I guess we recommend that, send your child to preschool. I'm not saying footprints only, but send your child to some
Yes,
preschool
yes,
where your
everybody.
children, so that they can attend, they can interact with the other children, they can have some interaction. Of course, if a preschool has a lot of activities, lot of interaction between children, that is always
Absolutely, Raj. I mean, footprints or not footprints, I'll say send your child to preschool or daycare and some activity center where child is engaging with other children, rhymes, coloring, everything contributes to developing them. Only thing to make sure is the child must be safe,
yeah.
you know, not neglected or scolded or in any way treated harshly. As long as the child is safe and being engaged, they are developing.
Right. In fact, that was our inspiration of setting up
Yeah,
footprints and bringing high scope there, because high scope is the only curriculum that is sort of research based. Anyways, let's start taking some questions, Purvesh.
sure.
So let's start with
Why
the,
don't you choose and unmute?
yeah, let's start with Urvashi Kakkar. I can't unmute, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we have a
you
question.
yeah, go ahead.
So we have a child, say around 1.5 years, and looking into the future, I think the old studies may not be that relevant, especially in the era of AI and quantum computing coming up in the near future. I mean, because the kind of interaction, the languages and all is going to be very, very different, probably more human friendly and otherwise. So how does and then I think most probably most of these next generation of, or I mean like the AI generation of children or the quantum generation in the future would be uh, in having a direct competition with the machine rather than humans. So I think we are evolving into a completely new era. What how would the neuron building, which I think the computers themselves are trying to take a cue from all those neurocomputing and stuff like that, would be helping in such
Yeah.
a cause? Yeah.
Very good question. I didn't get your name. I'm sure Urvashi is not your name. Team, can you not unmute so fast? Can you not mute so fast, rather? Can you unmute Urvashi?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm husband of Urvashi.
yeah, yeah,
Who's uh, my name is Dr. Ashutosh.
yeah. Dr. Ashutosh. Dr. Ashutosh, what you're saying is in a very, very relevant, very brilliant question. And I'm sure that is a question with most of the parents or adults at this time. So let me tell you a few facts. You know, even though the world is changing very, very fast, and we keep hearing some fad every decade. When my son was born, it was internet, then it was social media, and now it is AI. But let's confront the fact, even though the world seems to be changing very, very fast, the structure of human being doesn't even change in 1,000 years. I'll give you some simple facts. You know,
Yeah,
why
but
they
but they are talking about CRISPR, even gene, mm, uh, so
all fad. If you look at, there is no published study. This is just fear mongering. Let me tell you a few facts here, doctor. A human, most human beings in modern life, have specs by the age they turn 50, because our eyes cannot adjust to reading small text once we turn 50. And the human beings have been reading text for thousands of years. Even in last 20, 30,000 years, Our brain hasn't developed to adjust to a simple fact of reading small text. The text being scriptures being written are for 20, 30,000 years. So imagine 30,000 years, brain haven't even changed this much to adjust to reading small text. See, the rate at which evolution happens takes thousands and thousands and millions of years. So human brain's structure is not changing in our lifetimes. What is changing is how objects in the world operate, not how human being operates. And yes, just like internet came, just like social media came, just like AI has come, AI is nothing but computing things faster. But so far, the way human being can generate concepts hasn't been replicated yet. It looks like the AI is generating. AI is not creating acts. AI is only summarizing what is fed to them, just like a parrot. You can imagine a very big parrot. That's all AI is. Can
Yeah,
AI create?
till now, but in the future that may not be the case. I mean, like the whole concept of neural link connecting humans to machines, and then things may change. I mean, like things are not the
Doctor,
same
things are
before
always changing,
19th
doctor.
century
Things
or
are
20th century,
things
and
are always
so
changing, doctor.
how should children prepare, and the parents should prepare for this future stuff?
Just talk. Talk to your child. That's all you can do.
Yeah, I mean, what we're talking here, Doctor, is essentially how do we enhance the neural connections between neurons so that the development happens. That will remain fundamental to how humans are developing, even, you know, 1,000 years from now. So that's what we can do. I mean, if technology ends up replacing human eventually, it ends up replacing human. We can't do much about it. What we can do, we can probably make our children, do engage in these activities so that we're giving them the maximum chances of building these neural connections so that they can compete in this world, they can survive in this world and flourish in this world. Eventually whatever happens in the technology world eventually is out of
Yeah,
our control.
nobody knows.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody knows what will
But
happen.
one thing I can tell you for sure, human beings born 100 years from now will have the same structure of brain and development that they have 100 years back.
Yeah, and if some device comes which enhances their sort of brain, etc., I mean, I think we deal with it then. I think, yeah, nobody knows what will that be, so we'll have to deal it with then.
Right,
Sure.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
doctor. Yes.
Let's take Preeti Sharma.
Yeah, Preeti, go ahead.
Can somebody unmute?
Yeah, I'm unmuting. Preeti, can you unmute?
Yeah, yeah. So my first question is like how to control the environment when you are living in the joint family. So you spoke about the joint family, it is healthy, babies are learning, but babies are learning negative elements too from there. They are picking so many things which they should not. When you
Like,
have other cousins also at home and they are then the same age, one child is doing something else and another child is showing lot of tantrums and negative behavior. So how to control that? One thing. Second is like in India and all, you cannot expose your child to the classes and all under 3 years because they have certain criteria like minimum child age should be 5. Like lately, I checked with the piano classes. So they said the minimum age of the child is 5 years to learn the piano because they should know how to read
yeah,
and understand the instructions. So, how to handle this? And every child cannot be born in the musician family or some
yeah,
maths and all. You can make your child learn, but these activities which are depends on the external environment, how to make the baby enroll in that?
absolutely, Preeti. Very brilliant question. Very good question. So I'll address both of them. First, in the joint family, what you said is correct. Learning is learning. Child doesn't have connotation of positive and negative that adults have. So whatever you want your child not to learn, you'll have to actually prevent with other children in the family too.
That there is no control, joint
Yeah.
family, you don't have a control on other parents and their child.
Yes.
So
So it's like we
like
say, na,
I give an example, like my daughter is now about to 4 years, and she have two cousins who are just 6 months younger to her. So they have an habit of doing everything seeing TV. Then they eat, they talk, and they are boys, so they show a lot of tantrums and all. My daughter, like, she never exposed to TV till 2 years. But once she grew up and she's seeing, she has observed, she has understand the pattern that when their parents call them for the food, they say yummy, yummy, and babies goes into the room and they see TV
Yeah.
and then start eating food. So she has learned now.
Mm.
Now, whenever there is a food time for her, she comes and she want TV to be on.
Yeah.
So how to, and these are the so many things like which I
Sure,
want to
Preeti.
understand that how to
Understood,
control.
Preeti.
You will have to talk to the mothers of her cousins.
Or maybe we can have a next webinar specifically on screen time and food. Bring them on in this webinar, and maybe we can have some discussion. But end of the day, as Purvesh is saying, I think there is in a joint family environment, in any environment, children will learn everything, positive, negative. We want to avoid that negative learning. You will have to ensure that that is taken out of the environment, and other children are, I mean, I'm sure you got some insight, and you not to now need to create those insight, those knowledge with other parents, so that they start doing the right thing for their child, which will in turn help your daughter as well.
Yeah. And second thing, Preeti, you said about classes. When I say
Yeah,
learning, not necessarily classes, I can understand that, a small child of 4-year-old may not be able to play the whole piano, but
yeah,
child can learn musical notes with a small keyboard.
okay,
And child can learn a lot of music by listening to it. So if you
okay.
listen to good music, maybe Indian classical music, with your child will begin to appreciate music, learn music, appreciate beats. So you'll have to adapt to the child, because the
Yeah.
people learning classes, they have commercial interest and they're looking at, okay, how to teach a small child a piano. So you have to adjust and adapt what will work for a small child.
Okay. So you're saying like making them engage, listening at home also will work for them?
Yeah, but not listen, make them listen. You listen with them.
Yeah, yeah. I understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It makes a huge difference.
Unfortunately, India, small children are treated like they don't understand a lot of things. So
Babies.
that's why
Yeah.
you don't have a lot of
Yes.
classes in Western countries. You have swimming classes, music classes for very young children. I mean, in fact, a lot of children I've seen in UK and US start learning swimming at the age of 1.5, 2 years actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
one more thing, Raj, one more myth is that, when people listen to music with children, they'll only have, rhymes playing.
Yeah.
Some myth adults have is that, young children will not appreciate classical music or raga, but completely contrary. Listen to any and all kind of music, Indian classical, Western classical, not just rhymes.
Yeah.
Listen to the music that you love, and your child will pick it up. Thank you, Priti. Very good questions.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes,
Yes. Let's take Amrita.
Amrita, can you please unmute?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
First of all, I would like to thank Footprints because, as you said, it is really an extended family for my son. He's 3 years old and he's a Footprint child.
Most
So
welcome.
thank you for designing a curriculum and really helping him. I can see noticeable difference in the last few months that I've enrolled him. Also, I want to know what the role of omega 3 is when you're talking about these connections. Because I'm also an expectant mother. So I
Mhm.
would want, and main thing is my son and we are vegetarians. So we don't have salmon, we don't have fish. So how important would it be for me to give him omega 3 supplements right now? He's 3.
Amrita, I'm not qualified to answer that. This is a question for a qualified doctor.
Okay.
Okay. about omega 3s. But I can tell you one thing, whether you're vegetarian or not, all I'm saying is expose your child to variety of fruits, vegetables, nuts, like make their palate as wide as possible.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Yeah. Also, one last question. I have noticed that my son is not into coloring. He's not into taking a pen, holding it, writing with it, or trying to scribble and all of that. I'm trying to get him interested in it, but he's just not picking it up or showing any interest in it.
How old
So,
is he?
is it?
3 years
He's
old.
3. Yeah, he's 3.
So don't conclude Amrita so easily.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
children are very, very moody. They'll pick up whatever they will pick up when they will pick up.
All right. Okay. So I should not be worried about the whole motor
Not at
skills
all.
aspect of it.
Yeah,
Not at all.
just keep providing choices, just keep putting that in front of him. I mean, you never know, one day he may end up sort
Yeah.
of doing that.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Amrita.
Thank you. Let's pick
Naresh
Naresh
Rakha.
Rakha.
Naresh, can you please unmute? Yeah, go ahead. Naresh,
I
can you
think,
please unmute? Yeah,
yes.
go ahead.
Okay, I'm Dr. Naresh Raka, and I'm very grateful to you for sharing so much good and useful information. My granddaughter is 3 months old, and as you said, we should talk to the kids like we are talking to adults, other family members. But sometimes I do feel that I should keep repeating same things to her so that she takes note of those things, memorize it, and learn it. What do you suggest? We should repeat whatever we are telling her, or it should be like we don't repeat when we are communicating with
Just
adults.
just talk to adults like adult.
So no need
Don't
of
repeat.
repeating the
Whatever
same
comes, whatever
information.
comes naturally, just talk like that.
Okay, right. Thank you so much. That was the only
Yeah.
question.
Because when you're repeating, you're not having a conversation. You're trying to make them learn. Just have a conversation with them. They will learn.
Great, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Naresh. Raj, I think we
Right.
are already over time. Let's couple of more questions, then we'll complete.
Sure. Let's take Anup.
Anup, go ahead. Anup, yeah.
Yeah, uh, I'm audible now.
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah, thank you so much for conducting this webinar. Uh, I have just two quick questions. First thing first, I've been, even from my early age, I've been hearing that kids should not be burdened with lots of information and probably, lots of learning and stuff because probably that's what I've been hearing. But what I've heard from you now that the kids in the early age have the highest or probably peak of their, brain. So just wanted to have an understanding what exactly it is. Like, is it
Thank you
okay
so
to
much,
put
Anup.
whatever?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant question, Anup. Thank you so much for asking it. And Anup and everybody, please understand, some concepts are only with adults. For example, getting tired is an adult conversation. You know, children have nothing called tired. They may get
I
hungry,
see that.
they may feel sleepy, but getting tired is a conversation adults have with themselves. Information overload or learning overload or play overload is a conversation with adults. You will not find 3, 4, 5 year olds telling you, oh, information overload to me. These
I see that.
adults think that information overload is happening.
I think, and I can feel that with my daughter. I have a 1.5 years old daughter, and I don't think she ever gets tired of playing or whatever she's doing.
Yeah.
Whenever they
Okay,
whenever they
so
get they get exhausted, they just sleep. They don't care about
yeah,
what you think.
that's what happens. Okay, so I think
Purvesh,
that's fair.
Purvesh, just to be clear, I mean, a lot of times when parents say learning, they may actually mean making them learn English or a math or a science. I'm sure you don't mean that we sort of, learning does not necessarily mean those three, four, five things, right?
Yeah, and learning does not mean that now For a small child, you have a tutor coming in to teach English and then
Yeah.
Hindi and then Bengali and then mathematics and then music. No, no, no. See, the child needs to be nurtured, and for them, it has to be play. They learn when they play.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So just one more question. So I have recently enrolled my daughter to Footprints. I think this was her second week with Footprints, and so initially in early before 1 year, right? So we did not know because this girl is our first child, and me and my wife lives alone. Well, I mean, away from my family, my parents and stuff. So we had no idea how to do the parenting and stuff, right? So initial in her early days, she was exposed to TV screen. So my wife thought like she does not understand anything, so it will not affect anyhow. So she was watching whatever most of the kids are watching, like Hathi Raja and stuff, right? But recently, during my recent visit to pediatrician, she mentioned this thing that this kid should be completely banned from the screen. And
Yeah.
ever since we try doing it, and we are not watching it. Even if we are watching, let's say, cricket or some kind, some odd movies or something, she's not very much interested in those stuff. She's only interested into her stuff, whatever, a lot of colors and such cricky music and stuff on YouTube and stuff, right? But I've got to know. My wife was telling that in Footprint itself, the teacher told my wife's to show the kids some of this English rhymes and stuff, this Coco Melon and stuff. So I think she told that probably these teachers and people they create some activity around dancing and all, and probably since my daughter is not exposed to those rhymes and stuff, so she does not react the way they are expecting. So I just wanted to have an understanding around this particular piece. Is it okay to, because I have consciously, probably banned her from TV and mobile and stuff. So just needed a clarity
Sure,
how
Anuj.
it will
I
affect
think
her.
very good question. Just like Raj said, we could even have a standalone webinar on that. But just to answer your question quickly, your very good question. So first of all, your doctor has given brilliant advice. Please follow that. And one thing to distinguish, Anup, is what is called passive screen watching and active. See,
Right,
passive screen watching is when you leave the child with a phone or some kind of gadget or TV alone. There is no human
right,
interaction in that.
right.
That is detrimental. But if you're
Okay,
using a screen to do an activity with your child, that's called active screen watching. That is useful because the child is with you, you are interacting.
I understand.
Child is interacting with you,
Understand.
not the screen.
All right.
So by
I
all
think I
means,
have understood.
use the
Mhm.
phone or TV when you or your wife is playing with your daughter. That is not damaging, and you can even recheck with your pediatrician. But when you
Mhm.
leave the child alone with the TV, that's called passive screen watching. That is what is detrimental.
So, which means like, let's say if I'm making a video call with my family members back home and she's also, joining me, my daughter is also joining and we are interacting. So that should not be a problem.
Not at all, by all means.
All right, cool. I think I've got the clarity. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you want to take a couple of more questions, it's already
Okay, Raj, I
12.
think 2 more minutes, let's say.
So let's take one more question. Uh, let's pick Ruchika.
Ruchika Maheshwari. Yeah, Ruchika, go
Yeah,
ahead.
hello. Thank you. Yeah, hi. Thank you for a beautiful information. So my question you discussed about chocolate.
Hmm.
So till the age my daughter is 3 years,
Hmm.
and till the age of 2, we didn't introduce any chocolate biscuits. We didn't introduce. But after 2, she started having chocolate. Is it possible to avoid completely 100%?
Ruchika, you are the best person to answer that question. My answer is avoid as much as you can.
Yeah. So now what I am doing every Sunday only I give. I told her only Sunday you will get chocolate. So is it correct what I am doing, or
No, it
how
is
should I work on
you
it?
are you are just limiting the damage, but damage is still happening.
True, true, true. So she's seeing here and there chocolate. So is it
I can completely
really
get that,
possible
Ruchika.
to avoid?
For sure.
Sorry.
I'm totally with you. And everybody, there's a proverb saying it takes a village to raise a child. Just like Preeti also asked, you cannot have a dirty village and raise a clean child. So whatever happens in the village, the child will get it. You cannot control. The child is not developed in a home. It's in the village. So if in
Correct.
wherever we are living, if the junk food has penetrated so much, you'll have to talk to the mothers of other children. You'll have to talk to when they organize the birthday parties, what kind of food menu they keep. Because I can totally
Mm-hmm.
be with you that, if the child is going to a birthday party where all that is being offered is junk food, how much can you resist and control your child? So you'll have to talk to the mothers of those children and also share this information with them, share the scientific study with them, because I'm sure they also care for their child. They may be unaware.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have to
Yeah.
eliminate junk food as much as possible from the environment as well, just not from your home. I'll just share
Yeah.
quickly with you, Ruchika. When we started Footprints, in the initial days, we didn't used to provide food. But when
Okay.
we saw how much junk food was being fed to children by their own parents, for example, in the tiffin, mothers would send biscuits or
Oh,
sandwich or
Uh,
yeah.
chocolate or toffee. That is
yeah.
when we realize, the parents need to be educated about what food is good for the child or not. And
Okay.
you
Okay.
can talk
Yeah.
to
So I like.
any pediatrician or talk to Chat GPT, they'll tell you.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I like footprints are providing food. So that part, because of that, I took admission actually.
Yeah, at least that much we control, but after child goes home, whatever happens.
Yeah, she's there from 9 to 6, but yeah, after 6 I try to control. But yeah, during Saturday, Sunday, it's struggled for me how to stop junk food from here and there.
Totally understand. Totally. And don't worry about it too much, okay? It's not like in a really, you can control 100% as much as you can. That much difference it makes.
Yeah, sure, sure. Thank you for your input.
Yeah. Thank you,
So
Ruchika.
we will
Yeah,
send a
thank
survey
you.
to you guys on email. It'll take probably 60 seconds to fill that survey. It'll help us understand where we can improve. So request you guys to take that up once this webinar is over. Purush, you want to take one more or let's
No,
just
Raj, I think we need to move on, have another meeting to go. But
sure.
really, really, thank you so much, everyone. Brilliant questions. And thank you, Raj, for really giving this opportunity. And as we saw today, many people want to talk about food, screen time, maybe so many other things. I think we need to have some series of webinars. Raj, one will not be sufficient.
Sure, we'll certainly plan something.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone. Thank you
Thank you,
for coming on
everyone.
a
Have a
Saturday
great
and
weekend
participating.
and Eid Mubarak to everyone.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you
Bye.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.